In the bustling town of Riverstone, a young man named Leo worked tirelessly at the local grocery store, Pineview Market. Leo wasn't just another clerk, he was a beacon of positivity. Customers loved how he greeted everyone with a warm smile, often asking about their families or sharing jokes to lighten their day. "Morning, Mrs. Harper. How's your garden coming along?" Leo asked one of his regulars as she placed a basket of fresh produce on the counter. "Better than ever, thanks to those fertilizer tips you gave me," Mrs. Harper replied, beaming. Leo chuckled. "Told you, those tomatoes would be the envy of the neighborhood." The regulars adored him, but not everyone saw Leo's charm as a benefit. Mr. Griffin, the store manager, was an entirely different story. His stern demeanor and unrelenting focus on profit made him infamous among the staff. He rarely praised anyone, and his icy glare could silence even the most cheerful of employees. "Leo, enough chatting," Mr. Griffin barked one morning. "Customers aren't here for conversation. They're here to spend money. Keep the line moving." "Yes, sir," Leo replied, his cheerful tone unwavering. Leo believed that even Mr. Griffin's frosty exterior hid a heart somewhere. "Everyone has their reasons," he told himself, but Mr. Griffin's patience with Leo's kindness was wearing thin, and it was only a matter of time before it reached its breaking point. One sunny afternoon, a man limped into the store. His crutches creaked as he moved, and his left pant leg was neatly folded at the knee. Leo noticed him immediately and made a mental note to assist if needed. As the man shuffled through the aisles, his struggle was evident. He tried to balance on his crutches while reaching for items on the higher shelves, occasionally pausing to rest. "Excuse me," the man said softly to a passing shopper. "Could you hand me that jar up there?" The shopper barely glanced at him before walking away, muttering something under her breath. Leo, watching from a distance, felt his heart sink. When the man finally approached Leo's register, Leo greeted him with his signature smile. "Good afternoon. How's it going today?" "Could be better," the man said with a shrug, adjusting his crutches. "Just one of those days, you know." Leo noticed the faint scars on the man's hands and arms. "Veteran?" he asked gently. The man nodded. "Yeah, Afghanistan. Lost the leg in an explosion. Got a prosthetic, but the wound's acting up, so it's crutches for now." "That's tough," Leo said, his voice sincere. "Thank you for your service. My uncle's a vet. He always says the real heroes are the ones who come back and keep fighting." The man's eyes softened. "That's kind of you to say. Name's Henry, by the way." "Nice to meet you, Henry. I'm Leo," he said, bagging Henry's groceries. As Leo handed over the bags, he noticed Henry struggling to balance them with his crutches. Without hesitation, Leo turned to the customers in line. "Folks, would you mind if I stepped away for just a moment to help this gentleman?" he asked. "Take your time, Leo," Mrs. Harper called out, and others nodded in agreement. Leo grabbed the bags and walked Henry to his car, chatting along the way. "So, Henry, what keeps you busy these days?" Leo asked. "Not much," Henry admitted. "Still adjusting to this new normal, but I'm keeping my chin up." "You're stronger than most," Leo said as he loaded the groceries into Henry's trunk. "If you ever need anything, just drop by. I'll be here." Henry smiled. "Thanks, kid. You're a good man." As Leo returned to the store, he was met by Mr. Griffin, his arms crossed and face flushed with anger. "Where have you been?" Mr. Griffin demanded. "I was helping a customer," Leo said calmly. "He couldn't manage the bags and his crutches." "You left the register unattended," Mr. Griffin snapped. "Every second you're gone, the store loses money." Before Leo could respond, Mrs. Harper stepped forward. "He was doing the right thing," she said firmly. "We didn't mind waiting." Several other customers chimed in, praising Leo's kindness. Mr. Griffin, unmoved, raised a hand to silence them. "Enough. Leo, see me in my office after your shift." As the store closed, Leo entered Mr. Griffin's office. "Leo, you're a good kid," Mr. Griffin began, his tone devoid of warmth. "But this isn't a charity. I can't have you running off to play hero. You're fired." Leo's heart sank. "But sir, I I don't need excuses, Mr. Griffin interrupted, handing Leo a check. You're done here. Leo left the store that night, his head held high despite the ache in his chest. The next morning, Leo stood at the bus stop, contemplating his next move. As he waited, a car pulled up, and the window rolled down. Need a ride? Henry asked with a grin. Leo hesitated. I'm not going to work. I was fired yesterday. What? Henry exclaimed. Because of me? That's ridiculous. Leo nodded. It's fine. I'll figure something out. Henry's expression grew serious. Get in. We need to talk. As they drove, Henry asked, Leo, have you ever thought about doing something different? Something more fulfilling? Like what? Leo asked, genuinely curious. Well, I run a small gaming company, Henry said. We're always looking for creative minds. I think you'd fit right in. Leo laughed nervously. Gaming? I don't know anything about that. Doesn't matter, Henry replied. What matters is your attitude. We can teach you the rest. A week later, Leo stepped into his new role. The office was a vibrant place filled with energy, and for the first time in a long while, Leo felt like he belonged. Henry introduced him to the team, saying, This is Leo. He's here to shake things up. Leo adjusted quickly to life at the gaming company. Though he initially felt out of place, Henry and the rest of the team made him feel at home. All right, Leo, Henry said during his first team meeting. What's your take on this new game we're developing? Leo hesitated. Well, it's cool, but the storyline feels predictable. What if the main character had to make choices that affected the outcome? Like every decision changes the direction of the game. The room fell silent. Then one of the developers, a young woman named Maya, grinned. I like it. That's bold. Me too, Henry said. Leo, that's exactly the kind of fresh perspective we need here. From that day on, Leo became an integral part of the team. His ideas brought a new level of creativity to the projects, and his confidence grew with each passing day. But the transition wasn't without its challenges. Leo often doubted himself, especially when faced with technical discussions he didn't fully understand. One evening, as he stared at his computer screen feeling overwhelmed, Henry approached him. Hey, what's going on? Henry asked, pulling up a chair. I don't know if I'm cut out for this, Leo admitted. Everyone here is so talented, and I'm just a grocery clerk who got lucky. Henry placed a hand on Leo's shoulder. Listen, I hired you because you think differently. You don't need to be a tech wizard. You just need to be you. That's your strength. Encouraged by Henry's words, Leo pushed through his insecurities and began taking night classes to learn more about game design. As Leo grew more confident in his role, his bond with Henry deepened. One afternoon, while they were grabbing lunch at a local diner, Henry opened up about his past. You know, Henry began, I wasn't always the guy you see today. Leo looked up from his plate. What do you mean? After I came back from Afghanistan, I was lost, Henry said. I couldn't find a job, and I didn't think I'd ever get back on my feet. For a while, I was homeless. Leo was stunned. What changed? A stranger, Henry said with a small smile. Someone who saw me struggling and decided to help. That one act of kindness set off a chain reaction that brought me here. Leo leaned back in his chair, processing the story. So, you're paying it forward. Exactly, Henry said. And now it's your turn. Weeks later, Henry called Leo into his office. Leo, you've been doing incredible work here, Henry began. Your ideas have taken this company to a whole new level. Thanks, Leo said, smiling. But I'm just happy to be part of the team. Well, Henry said, sliding a folder across the desk, it's time you became more than that. Leo opened the folder to find a contract offering him a partnership in the company. I want you to share in the success you've helped create, Henry said. Leo was speechless. Are you serious? Dead serious, Henry replied. As Leo signed the papers, he noticed a familiar name on the letterhead. Henry Aldridge Ventures. Wait, Leo said, his brow furrowing. Aldridge Ventures? Isn't that a billion-dollar investment firm? Henry chuckled. Yeah, that's me, but I prefer to keep things low-key. Leo stared at him in disbelief. You're a billionaire? Technically, Henry said with a shrug. But that's not what's important. What matters is using what I have to make a difference. And now, you get to be part of that. From that moment, Leo's life transformed. He wasn't just an employee anymore. He was a partner in a thriving business, doing work he loved and building a future he never thought possible. With Henry's guidance, Leo went back to school, earning a degree in business while continuing to contribute to the company's success. Years later, as he stood in the company's state-of-the-art headquarters, Leo often reflected on how a single act of kindness had set his journey in motion. I guess Mr. Griffin was right about one thing, Leo joked to Henry one day. Helping you really did cost me my job. And gained you a life, Henry said, grinning. Their laughter echoed through the office, a reminder of how far they'd both come. Years later, Leo found himself mentoring young talent at the company, much like Henry had mentored him. One day, while speaking to a group of new hires, he shared his story. Sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can change a life, Leo said, his voice steady. When I helped Henry that day, I thought I was just doing the right thing. But that moment changed everything, not just for me, but for the people we've been able to help since. The room fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. As Leo left the office that evening, he spotted a young man struggling to carry boxes across the street. Without hesitation, he jogged over to help, just as he had done for Henry all those years ago. Kindness had changed his life, and he knew it had the power to change someone else's too.